If you're the parent of an autistic child, you've likely noticed them engaging in repetitive behaviors, hand flapping, rocking, saying certain sounds over and over again, maybe even head banging. These behaviors, known as stimming, often leave parents like yourself wondering, is this something I should try to stop? Is it harmful? What is the deeper meaning? Why are they doing it? And while you may have been told that these are just quirky behaviors, you should suppress them or your child's going to outgrow them, there's actually a deeper meaning, a deeper neurological story that most doctors miss. And if you can understand this deeper meaning, it's actually what we found over and over again in our office, one of the keys to supporting not only your child's development, but their overall well being. So, in this video, I want to explore the real root causes of stimming and help you understand its connection to nervous system dysfunction and neurosensory issues, which we often see at the root of things. And I want to help you understand if you can relieve this stuck tension in your child's body, how you might actually help your family find relief. I want to start with a story of a 7-year-old boy, Everett, who came to see us last year. When he came in, his mom said that his daily stims included hitting his head. He would squeeze his eyes, squeeze his head, squeeze his groin, and that one of the biggest sensory things that overwhelmed him had to do with sound and auditory input. And even though Everett couldn't communicate with his mom, Mom could see this turmoil in his body. She could see this stuck tension, this stuck discomfort, and all she wanted to do was to help him out. Fast forward just 6 weeks into care in our office, and she was filling out a progress form. She said, guess what? Everett's stimming less. His ability to self regulate is going up. She noticed he was feeling calmer, he was feeling happier. And one of the things that overwhelmed him the most, auditory input, she noticed that now he could actually sit still and was very calm during music in his special ed classroom. Even though there was the same amount of external stimulus coming in, his brain and his nervous system could handle it much better. So before we get deep into the weeds of why this is happening neurologically, I want to help you understand the purpose of stimming. Why is your child stimming in the first place? Because if we look at it simply as like a quirk or something that should be suppressed and pushed down, we often overlook the real meaning and you miss, in a sense, what your child is actually trying to tell you. So here's the deal. Stimming is actually something your child's nervous system is doing to help self-regulate and overcome stress that they're under. In fact, I'll put the link in the notes, but research shows that when adults were interviewed, autistic adults, 80% of them said that stimming helps them overcome anxiety and feeling nervous. It actually provided them with a calming effect. And on the flip side, 72% of them also said that at some point in their life they were told not to do it, that it didn't look good in public, that it wasn't socially appropriate. And I want you to take a moment here, step back with me. Picture if you're walking through the store and you turn quick and you hit your funny bone. You smack it as hard as you've ever smacked it. What are you going to do right after you hit your bone, your funny bone, and pain is like coursing through your body? You're going to grab it, right? And you're going to squeeze it and you're going to try to massage it and make that pain come down. You're going to try to comfort yourself, self-regulate your own level of pain in that moment. But what if at that same time someone came to you and said, sorry, it's not appropriate to grab and massage your elbow in the store. You just got to suck it up and live with it. How would that feel for you, right? You would say, but it's hurting so much, I want to grab my elbow. Well, that's how we want to look at stimming for your child, is instead of something to cover up, they're actually doing it to calm their own brain. So why then do kids feel the need to stim, right? Why do some do that and others don't? So what we see commonly in our office is at the core of stimming is actually an imbalance in part of the nervous system called the autonomic nervous system. This is the difference between gas pedal, which is the go, go, go side of things, the stress side, the sympathetic side of the nervous system, also called the fight flight. Often this is overactive, while at the same time, the brake pedal, the rest and digest side of things, is underactive. So over time, if the nervous system starts to get out of balance and there's more gas pedal than brake pedal, it causes a child's nervous system to be stuck in fight or flight, which starts to create tension in the body. And if that tension can't be relieved, the child's nervous system says, hey, I need to come up with a way to try to get it out. And that's where stimming comes into play. Now, this imbalance, the term that you may have heard here is called dysautonomia. Dysautonomia means a dysfunction, an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system, an imbalance in the gas pedal versus the brake pedal. Why then, if we now go the level below that, what is the next level of depth behind what is really going on with this imbalance? What we're experts in our office is actually measuring the state of someone's nervous system, and if it's out of balance, helping them understand why. What we look for in our office is something called a neurological subluxation. This term is the next fancy term after dysautonomia, but a neurological subluxation occurs when something in the spine is off, starting to create a stuck pattern of stress that is now actually sending stress into the brain. So I'm going to introduce another big word here that if you've had OT with your kid, if you've seen them craving things like rolling on the ground, running into things, deep hugs, a weighted blanket, it's because they're stimulating this next term called proprioception. Proprioception, it comes from the little joints, the little muscles, and it's incredibly calming and soothing for the brain. In fact, it's one of the things that we see most often missing in kiddos diagnosed with autism because their brain isn't getting this calming input, and now it starts to spiral into a state of dysregulation. It starts to spiral into stress rather than calm, balance, growth, and healing. This is why a lot of kiddos that have this diagnosis also are dysregulated when it comes to sleep. They're constipated, their digestion's off, their immune system might be weak, they get sick and stuffy and congested a lot, and they can't get out of that pattern. So proprioception, this calming input into the brain, is what is critical for regulating the brain. Majority of it actually comes from the spine. Because there are so many joints and small muscles along the spine, that is what should be, in a good way, bombarding the brain with this calming input. If you see a kid, especially with like head banging or doing a lot up here, it's often because we see the upper part of their spine, this neck area, is off. Even within the spine, the upper neck is the most proprioceptive rich area of sending good input into the brain. And what we see commonly is after a stressful labor or delivery, that is one of the earliest things that throws us off, that now starts to cause a child to lose good calm into the brain and instead starts to get stress into the brain. Other areas of proprioception are the wrists, hence hand flapping, or the ankles, toe walking. Groin is a common area. And another huge area is the jaw. So you see jaw clenching, having a chewy toy that they need to stim with, having a lot of vocal tics, or always putting things, touching their mouth in a certain way. All those are signs. And here's kind of the cool thing with stimming is it's actually helps give us clues as to where we need to help a child individually. But all those can be common areas of stim because those are the most dense areas of calming proprioception into the brain. So just knowing that can start to allow you to look at your child as the incredibly brilliant person that they are, how smart their innate wisdom is, because it's saying, I can't necessarily communicate verbally. Sometimes they can. Even verbal adept kids still do stimming. But the deep neurological patterns in their body are saying, what can I do to help get calm into my brain? So how then does neurological chiropractic help? How did it help in Everett's case of start to create calm, less stim, increased self-regulation in even such a short time period? So, three things that neurological chiropractic does to help your child. One is it helps to start to regulate the sensory processing system. You see, when there's this neurological subluxation, it's sending so much stress into the brain that the brain is now trying to cope with stress internally from a sensory side as well as external stimuli. So, if internally there's a ton of extra sensory stress, now when external stress, in Everett's case, sitting in music class, comes into play, it overwhelms an already overwhelmed system. So, they need to shut down, they need to withdraw, they need to protect themselves, or they need to dump that stress out with a stimming behavior. So, step one is starting to clear out stress going into the brain from the body and start to put calm into the brain instead. That starts to increase the capacity of your child's nervous system to regulate itself. The second thing neurological chiropractic starts to do is activate the vagus nerve. This is the major brake pedal for the autonomic nervous system. It's what brings things back into balance when a nervous system starts to get stuck on stress mode. When gas pedal starts to go on over and over and fight flight becomes chronically activated, a child's nervous system, if that's all they know is fight flight, it's tough to get them out of that and break that pattern. Hence the term like stuck in a cycle. The key to doing that is the vagus nerve. And this is a nerve that comes from the brainstem. So it actually correlates very closely when we see a child where we see stress in this part of their nervous system at the very top of their neck. We often see now they lose the ability to activate the brake pedal. So the inability to use the brake pedal means gas pedal stays stuck on and they can never start to self-regulate. This is one of the keys in Everett's case. Is when we started adjusting early on, we did a lot of work on his upper neck because now it started to not only put calm into the brain, but it started to give his body the ability to activate the vagus nerve and the brake pedal. Studies show that kiddos with sensory issues tend to have an underactive vagal response, an underactive vagus nerve. And then the cool thing is step number 3 is an improvement in emotional regulation and behavior regulation. Because when the autonomics is out of balance and the nervous system is dysregulated into stress mode, it's easy to have a child that struggles with big emotions, big behaviors, big meltdowns, tantrums, and it's easy for them to get overwhelmed. And in this case, they're going to try to do what they can to dump that stress, which leads to increased stimming, especially during times of anxiety or frustration or even excitement. Maybe it's going to a birthday party. However, when we start to increase the capacity of a child's nervous system to regulate, parents report as well social and emotional regulation comes along with that. So, as I wrap up this video, one thing I do want to make clear is that neurologically focused chiropractic care is not a treatment for autism. It's not a treatment for stimming. What it is a way to look deeper, to look at your child's nervous system to see if it's stuck in stress mode that is overwhelming its input into the brain, if it's overwhelming the sensory system, overwhelming the nervous system, that's going to lead to a spillover of all these things we've been discussing. So while the goal is not to like treat stimming or stop it altogether, what parents report over and over again is once they start using neurological chiropractic to help their child, that they notice stimming start to come way down. They notice regulation start to come up. They notice them being able to go out into situations that used to overwhelm them, but they start to handle it better. They start to develop this underlying calm and groundedness in their child's nervous system because it becomes something that now can adapt to life better. So that's our goal in our office, is to help your child have the best quality of life possible. If this resonates with you, if you're curious, if you're wondering, hey, I wonder what my child's nervous system, what's going on in there? Is it stuck? Please reach out to us. We've got a set of very safe, very gentle neurological scans. That's what we did in Everett's case, to not only pinpoint is his nervous system under stress, but where. And as a result, knowing how much, where it's at, we can put a plan together to help. So please reach out. We're here for you, and I'll talk to you soon.